Sound the alarm! To arms! They are here!
Good evening, and welcome to the Watchmen's Report. I'm Cody Higley, and tonight we're joined as always by Jason Foreman, and we have a very special guest who has been on the show many a time before, Twila Laing, the councilwoman representing Marion's 4th Ward, who is also the Finance Committee chairman. So Twila, welcome back to the Watchmen's Report.
Thank you, guys. Good evening.
Yeah, we went over quite a few topics last night involving the city of Marion and all the big breaking news of the last couple of weeks when we had a special guest, Ralph Smith, who is also on the Finance Committee. So we're going to kind of rehash, maybe go into a little bit more detail with some of those topics and get your perspective as the finance chair. Ralph has just recently joined the Finance Committee here with this new session. So if there's anybody that is more informed on city council when it comes to the city finances, there's nobody. So it's you. And we're very pleased to have you on here to share your knowledge and expertise and kind of vision for the future moving forward on those topics. So to start, something that we kind of didn't really talk too much about with Ralph last night was the resignation of Marion City Auditor Miranda McGinnis. So this comes about 2 weeks, I think it was, after the 3 affidavits were filed by Marion City Council members Sean Barr, Twila Laing, and Ralph Smith to seek her removal from office. So she ended up resigning here. What day was that, Twila?
Oh, Lordy, I don't remember.
Maybe a week ago?
Yeah, it's been a week ago.
Yeah. Anyway, stuff flows and kind of goes into each other with a lot of these topics. Things are moving fairly fast, and this is just another example. But suffice it to say that she submitted her resignation after not appearing at any of the council meetings or the committee meetings for 3, 4 sessions, something like that. I think she was MIA, right?
Two committees and I think 2 councils. Yeah.
Yeah. So a good amount of time, all in the midst not only of the chronic issues going back to when she took office in 2021, but I think kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, as they would say, would be the her handling of the ADP conversion, the payroll issues, and having all those city employees with their messed up paychecks, and then also the union reps coming and sharing a piece of their minds. And then she resigned. So we get this letter that was tendered, and take it for what it's worth. I accepted the office of city auditor just over 4 years ago, taking office on November 29th, 2021. I went into an office that was broken beyond belief with no common goal, let alone someone willing to step in and take the lead. I had no payroll clerk, an auditor's office with a staff of 2, and no clue what I was walking into. In the last 4 years, I have not only retained valuable members of my team, but built an incredible team of people around them. I have spent countless hours learning about a system that was believed to be broken, navigating the world of local politics, and doing it all with little to no support from my fellow elected officials. I have worked nights, weekends, holidays, and well into the early morning hours. I have sacrificed time with my family and time off, even taking calls while out of state in an attempt to gain some ground on a seemingly never ending list of problems. I have done everything in my power in the last 4 years to change processes, improve procedures, work with both administration, new and old, and council, and make the office of city auditor as, quote, idiot proof as possible. I like that one because I know the chances of something being unqualified, of someone being unqualified earning this spot are very high. My only goal through all of my time here has been to contribute to the greater good for the city of Marion. I didn't take this job for notoriety, power, prestige, or popularity. I took this job for what it is, to be a public servant. With that being said, I hereby tender my official resignation from the position of city auditor, effective immediately. This decision has not been made lightly. I still don't know what lies in the future for myself or my family, but I can rest my head tonight knowing that the work I've done was sound and my morals have not been compromised. I refuse to allow my mental health to degrade any further by continuing to submit myself to the games of local politics. Sincerely, Miranda McGinnis.
And
Twyla, what are your thoughts
dated.
on
It's not dated at the bottom. She didn't
is it
date it.
dated? Doesn't look like it.
Oh,
Oh
wait,
no,
January
January
21st.
21st,
21st.
2026.
Okay, so that was the
8
day
days.
she did it. Yeah, 8 days
Yeah.
ago. Gosh, you could go all the way back to paragraph 1, and we can go down, and I can give you my opinion on each one of those paragraphs.
That sounds like a plan.
All right, so she came into office in November 2021. So she was appointed, replaced Robert Landon. They had Martin Watson there, like they do now, as the interim auditor for a period of time. So broken beyond belief, with no common goal, let alone someone willing to step in and take the lead. I had no payroll clerk in the auditor's office with a staff of 2 and no clue what I was walking into. Comments, Twyla, go.
It may have been somewhat broken, not as broken as it is right now. Did she not have a payroll clerk? I think, I don't know if Kim was still there when, I don't know. There may not have been a payroll clerk, but she hired her sister-in-law shortly thereafter. And she came in, she had, I don't know how long it took her to hire staff and the such. So I really, with the first paragraph, it probably was somewhat broken, and with no common goal, it wouldn't be a previous auditor's goal that she would need to pick up on. She would need to have her own goals at that point, in my opinion. And let alone someone willing to step in and take the lead. Obviously, she was willing to step in and take the lead. She submitted her application to be considered.
Right.
So it's not like we drug her in there, or she was drugged in there kicking and screaming to do it. So, I mean, you come in, I guess that's just part of office management. You go into an office, you kind of assess the area around you, your personnel, and you are the one that's responsible for creating a plan and moving forward with it. So that's my opinion on paragraph number 1.
Yeah, and I've heard, I don't know, and I think I heard it somewhere, is that they went and attempted to get Mark McGinnis to take that position, and then when he turned it down, then somehow her name got mentioned as a possibility. I don't know if Miranda said that.
I'm not aware of any of that.
But I mean, you have to. She came in and kind of said, "Well, I've got all this experience," and she really didn't.
Right.
I mean, she worked at some banks and credit unions for very short periods of time in low level positions. Like we're talking teller, we're talking, I think, customer service rep. She might have done that for maybe 12 months or something.
No
Very
way did
limited.
that give you the experience you need to go in and tackle the job that needed to be tackled.
Exactly. And then when you come in, you need to set the proper expectations. You can come in and say, hey, I've identified these are trouble areas. These are
Right.
issues right now. And this is my plan at this point in time on how to tackle these, and this is my timeline. She didn't
Exactly.
do that. She kind of went in there and said, yeah, we're gonna get this resolved, get everything reconciled within a short period of time. And then when that didn't happen, then you've like kind of screwed yourself over with what your expectations are. And then not being able to answer questions in an intelligent way. She took a lot of meetings she didn't attend during that period of time. She didn't handle it like well at all. And that's why I was so shocked when she ran for re-election. Like nobody ran against her, so she was a shoo-in. But why would you do that? Like you had already proven that you don't know, and she had admitted it. She had said, this office is garbage. I think that was a comment that she made in late 2023 and early 2024, and it was subsequently repeated that she doesn't know what she's doing. She admitted that. She said her office is garbage. It's a mess, and yet you run again. Like know when to hold them and know when to fold them, as Kenny Rogers said. Right, Twila?
Exactly.
I mean, as I understand it, all the or most of, if not pretty much the majority of the meetings that were held for the up training or whatnot for the ADP and associated things, she was absent for as well. Is that correct?
She was there for the first two initial meetings prior to us signing the contracts. Once the contract was signed, then it was Melody and Chelsea that were going to all the meetings. And then Melanie quit shortly thereafter. And Miranda hadn't had any of the training at that point. So she was already behind on what needed to be done and how it was going to be done. And then Leslie went in and started doing payroll. Melanie left. Miranda decided that she was going to do it. We wanted to bring a firm in to do it, and she refused. You know, you've got your hands full at that time with IRS and the penalties and the fines that were coming in.
Right.
And the fact that the audits hadn't been done, the reconciliations hadn't been done. Veritas was on board at that point, and we felt, when I say we, I'm talking about the mayor and the service and safety director and Casey, the budget finance director at that time, felt that it was too much for her to take on payroll when she couldn't even get this other stuff, didn't have time to get this other stuff taken care of. So at that point, we felt it might be a good time to go with a third party, because with the third party, the employees would record their own time and put in their vacation and, whatever on their supervisor would approve it and then send it, and ADP would do everything. They would figure the taxes, they would pay the taxes, they did everything. City wouldn't have to do anything. All Miranda had to do was release the funds to ADP to pay everybody. And so we felt by doing that, she'd have more time to spend on working on reconciliations and getting those completed, and then focusing on the audit. And she was in agreement with all that. She was not excluded from any of those meetings. In fact, she's the one that set up the interviews with the companies we were considering. So for her to say she wasn't a part of it that's a false statement on her part.
Yeah, let's dig deep on that issue here coming up. Let's finish this resignation letter and your thoughts on that. I know sometimes we get ahead of ourselves. We do it all the time here on the Watchmen Report, so bear with us. But that's my job as host.
Well, you go back to that other paragraph where she said she spent nights and weekends and time away from her family. And
all right, let's go to number 2. I have not only retained valuable members of my team, but built an incredible team of people around them. Hasn't that been a chronic issue with like
the turnover?
Yeah.
The turnover. I asked her nicely. I mean, I can't tell her how to run her office, and the mayor can't tell her how to run her office. But we both suggested that she cross-train the people that she did have, so that when one left or was sick or on vacation or whatever, that the office didn't come to a complete shutdown.
Right.
And I mean, that's just common sense, to run an office with people that know how to do somebody else's job. And she never did that. And
never give like pushback on that, like why she wouldn't want to do that. I mean, now I don't think she's had any managerial experience. I don't believe
none whatsoever.
I know as somebody in management, that's one of the biggest things, because I don't want to deal with the situations that inevitably arise between turnover, somebody leaving for another job, or they retire, or they get sick and they're off for a long period of time. You need to make sure that you have everything covered with the staffing that you have, that if the worst case scenario arises, that things still operate as they should.
Exactly.
And I don't know why she wouldn't want that. Like,
I don't know. I can't answer that question. I've asked it several times of her, and I never got an answer. But I mean, when you don't come in till 9:30, well, if you don't come in till 9:30, 10 o'clock, and you leave at 2:30, you can't get much done in the office. So, and when you bring your kids with you to work, you get even less done. And so,
you brought her kids to work?
Yeah. So,
like every day?
Pretty much. Because she would have to
an auditor's daycare center.
Well, she'd have to leave to take her to preschool or whatever. And then she'd come back, and then she'd go pick her up. And when she'd go pick her up, she was gone for the day. So I guess when you carry hours like that, and you've got the workload that you have, and you don't have the staff that she keeps saying she didn't have, I guess you would have to work nights and weekends at home after you put them to bed or whatever. A lot of the stuff she says doesn't make sense. I didn't answer your email because I was cooking dinner for my family. Okay, well, that's family time. If you're eating dinner. So she was on, took calls when she was out of state. I know there is one area that she went out of state to, and there's no cell phone service. So you couldn't get a hold of her. If there was an emergency or otherwise, there's something that needed to be dealt with. But
was it even something, though, that you would want, like that you would accomplish anything by communicating with her? Because I know she had made statements before here within the past year saying how she doesn't talk to nobody from council or the administration or any of the department heads. She's basically on an island by herself. Nobody talks. Right. But it kind of makes you wonder, it begs the question, like, is that because you are so incompetent that there's no reason for anybody to try to reach out to you? So it kind of makes me wonder, did they go, if they had a question of substance that had to come from the auditor's office, were those questions going to Martin? Were those questions going to, who's the other deputy auditor?
We have an internal auditor. Martin is was the deputy auditor, and then Chelsea was the internal auditor. And a lot of times I did go to Chelsea, and
Right.
Chelsea a lot of times was able to answer my question, but or she would get me the report I needed, because Chelsea was the only one that was always there. And the other things that always floored me when I would go in there is that Martin and Miranda would both be off at the same time. And I was like, okay, so you got an auditor and a deputy auditor. And this is just my opinion, my perspective. You got an auditor and a deputy auditor, and both of them are out of the office at the same time, same amount of day, same week, whatever. I would think you would want to have one or the other there to cover the office. For whatever reason, there was just a whole lot of everything that didn't make sense. Melody left. Then Miranda did payroll for a couple of weeks, and then Leslie was trained on how to do it. And so Leslie was doing it. Leslie did it for a couple of weeks, and then Leslie quit. And in the meantime, Chelsea was going to leave, and the position for the budget director opened up, and she put her application in for that. So when people say that, the mayor snatched her out of the auditor's office, that's not the case. That the auditor's office was just so dysfunctional, people wanted out of there.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, so to say that in the letter here, to say that she built an incredible team of people, that doesn't jive with the facts on the ground. There's been high turnover.
If you built an incredible team, then that office should be able to function without
her there. Right.
Yeah.
That's an incredible team.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no idea what Kevin is working. Supposedly he is working on reconciliations, but what she supposedly had him reconciling should have taken him no time at all. And it's still not done, whatever it is.
And he's the administrative clerk.
He's the internal auditor.
Payroll, right? Oh, he's the internal auditor.
He's the internal auditor. Jeff was hired for payroll. And,
that's the guy. Okay.
And Jeff has payroll experience, ADP experience, and Miranda gave him no task to do whatsoever. He couldn't answer questions. He basically verified the information that came from the departments and then turned everything over to her. And that was my question, is if you hire a payroll clerk to do payroll, he's a payroll clerk / administrative assistant. So if you hired him to do that, why are you still doing payroll? Why is he not doing payroll? On that note, though, I had never spoken with Jeff prior to Miranda resigning. I have now talked to him a couple of times, and things seem to be going quite well. He's getting the training that he never got, and that is advancing.
Well, that's good to hear. So yeah, finishing up this commentary on the second paragraph. Begs a question. So you said that she would kind of keep hours that were fairly modest, 9 o'clock to 2 or what have you, and she's saying that she worked countless hours, nights, weekends, holidays, into the wee hours of the early morning. Is this from home?
It had to have been
remotely.
She was set. I did ask, and yes, she was set up remotely.
Is that on like a secure network, like VPN or whatever?
Yes.
Okay. Well, hey, there's something
I asked that question too.
Maybe actually like set up, like he actually maybe did that. I don't know.
I hope so, because if they're accessing financial systems without a secure VPN, that's a serious problem. I know we had
So-
one rogue laptop, so
I mean, she had the capability, but did she take her whole office home with her then? Because I don't know, when I have to work from home and all of my stuff is at the office, it makes it difficult to really
Right.
work from home unless you drag everything from the office with you. And that's just not feasible. And I never saw her carrying no suitcases out of City Hall or bringing a suitcase in, because if you were going to be taking the information and the paperwork and stuff that you were working on, it would take suitcases to haul that stuff back and forth.
right.
Yeah, that's why it's just somewhat questionable, especially when she says she's not in communication with really anybody from the city government. So what are you doing then? Like, if you're working from home, like, what does that consist of? And I don't know. I mean, I think that there should be some accountability as far as uh, publishing the actual times clocked in, what or work hours or whatever. I
An
know that the
elected
law,
official doesn't have to do that, though.
right? There is
There's no accountability.
there's no accountability. There's nothing there. But as taxpayers, we should demand it from these people. I know a lot of these elected officials, officially, they only have to work what, like, come into the office one day a week or some shit like that. It's
City
really
council,
modest.
we only have to show up for a meeting, on council night
Yeah,
and
and
committee.
but I mean, there's other at the county level, at the city level, these elected officials, technically they don't have to come in and like actually work. I think it's very, very minimal, like one day a week or one day a month or something like that. So they can get by, and say, like, I don't technically have to come in here and do this, but that's not good enough. Like, it should be taken as a full-time job, especially I can see the treasurer, which is viewed as a part-time job, and now making $12,000 a year, was $9,000 a year. Okay, that's understandable if you're putting in minimal hours or whatever. But when you're raking in $70,000, $80,000 a year, it's a full-time position. Your ass better be in the office. You better be putting in at least 40 hours a week, and doing the job. And I don't know how often, especially in that position, that was going on. Maybe I'm wrong. According to her, she worked many, many, many hours, burning the midnight oil, uh, apparently from her house. And I don't know if that's true or not, but so I think that takes care of the second paragraph. Um, oh, you'll like this one, the
Oh,
third
I
one.
love this one. Yeah, third one.
Yeah, I've done everything in my power in the last 4 years to change processes, improve procedures, work with both administration, new and old, and council, and make the office of city auditor as idiot-proof as possible. Go.
Well, let's see. The last council had a vote of no confidence. This council wanted a vote of new count. Well, the previous before us, under Searcher's administration, that council voted no confidence. And then I think we passed a couple of ordinances that said no confidence in it. And we wanted to do a no confidence, but Mark Russell said it was, mute at that time. Wasn't going to do us any good to do that. Searcher had no confidence in her. Mayor Collins has no confidence in her. I've lost count. I know it's in the hundreds of meetings that we have had, and she has been invited to every one of them. And a lot of the meetings actually were questions that only the auditor office could answer. And she was always a no-show and never sent a representative. So what do you do with that?
You'd file affidavits to get her
Yep.
removed, and
Right.
then force her to resign, which is what happened. and it didn't happen soon enough. I mean, this has just been going on. It's been a very dark page in the annals of the uh, city of Marion in its history. So that's my
I mean,
opinion on the matter, and I don't know, that can't be taken offensively. Like, the woman herself has admitted. I'll give her credit on that. Like, it's ridiculous to me, but at least she wasn't saying that everything was great and functional and she was the best auditor ever and stuff. No, like, she's done many public statements, many interviews over the past 4 years, and
and I
she'd
think
be the first to tell you.
she truly believes that, I'm not going to take that away from her. I think she actually believes that she probably did do the best she could do with the tools that and experience that she had. But
Yeah.
it didn't get the city anywhere. And we recognized that, and we offered, oh my gosh, Chelsea offered to go in and help. We offered to bring firms in. We brought Veritas back to do the reconciliation. They said just keep them current and up to date. And she failed to even do that. After we paid all that money for them to reconcile, the general account. And now we got to go back and do it all over again. It's just it's frustrating. It's
Right.
frustrating.
Yeah.
It's a
Very
waste.
frustrating.
It was
Yeah,
a waste
and
of time, a waste of money, and the citizens of Marion deserve better than that.
yeah, I mean, never should have accepted it. Never should have put your name in the hat. Never should have accepted the position. It'd be just like, what if a brain surgeon was an elected position? So whoever gets the most votes, now you're the brain surgeon, and you walk in with no medical training, no surgery training, anything like that, and you just start operating on people because you're like, well, I was elected. I'm the brain surgeon. Come over here and let me cut into your old cranium there, and then you kill like every patient. That's pretty much what happened. Miranda had no experience whatsoever that was relevant, and she had no clue on what she was doing in that office. And it went on for 4 years. 4 years. That's just too long, and it puts that much more distance between fixing the issue. So again, this whole process of getting the city of Marion through this fiscal caution or this fiscal distress situation, it's going to take a while. We'll talk
It is.
about that here in a minute, Twyla. We went over it with Ralph last night, but this is not going to be a short-term fix or anything like that. So keep that in mind, folks. It took 4 years of Miranda in there not doing what she was supposed to be doing.
Oh, it's a big snowball. It's
Yeah.
big. And I like Miranda. I don't not like her. She's a very nice person. I had numerous enjoyable conversations with her, and I hope that she does find a job that she is happy in doing and can move on in life. But this was not a good career choice for her.
I wish her, again. I think that she seems to be forthright for the most part. I mean, she had a couple, things that she did that were questionable, when she was trying to pay for those fines or penalties or whatever it was, and then kind of hide it. I mean, that wasn't the smartest thing to do or the most honest thing to do. But I think she's been fairly, I don't know, I guess forthright with her assessment of the office and of herself and stuff. So, wish her the best of luck. But again, you have to know your limitations. You don't just take the job. And she probably figured, like, oh, well, I went from making 40 grand a year to making 70 some a year, and I don't really have a boss. I can do what the hell I want and leave the office when I want. Nobody can question me or say anything. Like, that's probably the calculus that she worked through in her head. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
just
I have
ride
no,
this.
I have no idea, but yeah.
Yeah, but you don't do that. You don't do that when you're in a position of public trust where you're responsible for the accounting and the finances for a city of just under 36,000 people with a budget of millions of dollars. You can't do that. Can't do that. So,
Right.
all right. So the rest of this paragraph, um, I think the chances of someone being unqualified earning the spot are very high. Now, Twyla, I've researched this. I've published on this. She's not wrong
No,
with that.
she's not.
She's not wrong with that. I'll give her
No.
credit. Maybe she's read my articles of actually going in there are nine CPAs living in the city of Marion. Now, you don't necessarily have to be a CPA in order to be an auditor, but you better have some relevant experience. I mean, something closely aligned with that education or licensure. And to say out of just under 36,000 people, you've got 9 in the city of Marion.
Yeah, the pool's not big.
The pool is not big. And
Well, the
it's
pool's
same.
big, but there's plenty of room.
Yeah, there's no fish in that pool, or that pond. It's the same thing with the law director. All the more reason we went on this again last night. All the more
The
reason why
charters, we
Marion
need
needs a
to
charter.
be a charter.
Yeah, so I know that Bill Collins has to make the appointment for the replacement, and that there's rumors out there that there might be 1 or 2 or 3 prospective people. But what's the likelihood that there's going to be anybody that has direct relevant experience? Are you confident in that? I mean, without
I've read the resumes. I don't know who. There are a couple of candidates I think that can pull it off.
really,
Was all hands on deck. I think yes.
that have relevant education and work experience?
Yes.
Really? So one of the 9 or something, maybe. I don't know. But the other thing, whoever takes it, I mean, they've got their hands full.
Oh God, yes, they've got their hands full.
Yeah, and I think that they're going to have to set the proper expectations and the tone so that people don't go after their ass in 6 months or a year or whatever. They're going to have to be very candid, very vocal, do an assessment. That's what needs to be done, is to assess the entire office at the very beginning and give a state of the auditor's office is what I would probably.
Basically, that yes, exactly.
And
Exactly.
then every council meeting, you're giving an update and you're being completely forthright and honest with the reality of the situation, what you're doing, and then giving a timeline update on all those different action items that you identified in your assessment of the office.
I
If
know,
they
right,
do that,
right, yeah, right now, regardless of who comes in or when, what, or whatever, payroll is top priority right now. W-2s first, pay second, reconciliations third, audits are fourth, penalties and fine are fifth. I mean, that's about the way it ranks right now. And it is all hands on deck. I mean, whoever it is, we are going to give them whatever they need. It's going to cost us money. There's no time and money. There's no doubt about that. It's going to have to, we're going to have to bite the bullet. It's going to have to be done. We don't have a choice. We're in fiscal caution. So, or watch or whatever it is. It's a mess.
That it is. So I think that we've dissected this resignation letter for Miranda McGinnis. So all we can do is wish her the best of luck, say adios, Miranda, and I guess wish Martin Watts, the interim auditor, the best of luck until the replacement is named. Now Ralph was thinking that Martin himself might want the job of auditor. So is he one of the ones in your mind that's being considered, or is that something that you can mention at this point in time? No.
No, that ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, I made a joke, and again, I don't know anything, but last night I made a joke. I said he's found his way into the auditor's chair again, and he's a survivor, Twila. You know how they say, like, in a nuclear holocaust that Twinkies would survive, nothing else, like everything else would be decimated by like nuclear winter and all that stuff, but there would be Twinkies. I think Martin Watts is the Twinkie of the auditor's office. Like, he survives through all this chaos, comes out unscathed. He can make all these mistakes and make payments without appropriation from council, and he just like skirts the blame. Like, he'll admit it.
Well,
and then now he's the acting auditor. So
auditor again. I cannot, that is going to ultimately be whoever is appointed. That's going to be their decision to make. But I've talked to Martin quite a few times this week, and I've never asked him the question, but he never said he hasn't indicated. I haven't heard that he wants it. But he's being very cooperative and very helpful. And, we're seeing a lot of good results this last week. So that's encouraging for me. I don't care who does it as long as it gets done.
Yeah. I mean, if he can do it and he wants it, I mean, I guess give him an opportunity, but that would beg the question is, well, if you actually are competent, then where the hell have you been over the past 4 years? Like, and you can say, well,
and I hate to, but to Martin's defense, because I did ask him, I said, when council was held on Monday evenings, and Miranda always came to council, and she was always looked like she was taking notes, or, I'll get back to you on that. I'll find out. Did she ever have a staff meeting on Tuesday and say, this is what was discussed at council last night that affects the auditor's office. I need you to do this. I need you to do that. Can somebody get me this? Or what? Did she ever sit down and say, this is what was discussed, and, assign tasks to get it done? And he said, never. Well, wouldn't you think that would be one of the first things you would do?
You would think.
And he also said that he was never made aware of anything. He just basically, I think, knew what his job was, and he basically stayed in his office and did his job. And unless Miranda gave him or somebody else something to do, which she very rarely or seldom did, she kept everything on her plate for herself to do. She did not delegate anything.
Yeah, I mean, that's another requirement when you're running a business or you're a manager. You have to be able to delegate. You have to train your staff, train your crew, and make sure you do good hires. That way you got people that are trainable, and you got to get them cross-trained, and then you have to be able to delegate, and you have to be able to make sure that you're enforcing their job duties and work product. That's what your job is as a manager. So if she wasn't doing that, my guess is, I mean, just look at the whole notion, the whole idea behind creating the budget director position. A
We
lot
did
of
that
that
to
stuff,
take work. We did that to take work out of her office because we needed that information and we weren't getting it. So
right?
we created that position or we'd be in worse shape than we are right now had we
Yeah,
not done that.
it was largely a duplication of duties, or like you said, creating that so that they could have somebody competent or at least responsive, who was addressing those items that should have been done by the auditor. And she was critical at that. When I remember, her statements when that position was created, she kind of saw it as an affront by council, by the administration, to circumvent her office and her duties. Well, that should have been a clue. I mean, and if you're a Marion City taxpayer, like, again, you should be kind of pissed off that that had to be done. It shouldn't have been done. It was
Right.
another 80 grand or whatever on a
Yes.
position.
It shouldn't have had to been paid out. But that's how we discovered that the POs were being overridden. That nobody was watching the door. And the spending was out of hand.
Now,
If
that we talked about that last night, and we've talked about it before, but I think, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, because you would know better than I, but that general ledger override authority, that was a huge issue, right? I mean,
very,
it wasn't just a small amount of money that was being overridden without a appropriation or approval from the auditor. That resulted in a substantial amount of money, right?
yeah, we've got 14 accounts that are deficit balances because of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that came up early on too. When Twila and I were talking, we talked about that early on, and it was, postulated that it was probably some kind of software safety control, and I'm sure Twila remembers that. Yeah, that was a big deal. That's a big deal.
And so it created such deficits in the department that they were robbing Peter to pay Paul. They were literally taking funds from one account to cover deficits in another account, and they kept doing that until there was no more money left to cover the deficits. They had to let the deficits go.
Now, was this the department heads that were doing this, or was it the auditor's office?
I don't know. I mean, I would have thought that the auditor's office would have said, sorry, you've reached your maximum on your budget. You were going to have to go to council to have more funds appropriated. I blame it on the auditor's office. It doesn't matter if it was a clerk or a supervisor or a department head or whatever. The auditor is the last point of checks and balance.
Right.
They're the one that say it's yay or nay. They're the keeper of the accounts.
And when that, I believe, when that issue was brought up with the General Ledger Override Authority, a lot of that stuff was being submitted by these departments or whatever, given the override by the department head, so they're approving their own, and then the only eyes on it at the auditor's office a lot of times was Deputy Auditor Martin Watts, right? Miranda herself, I think, said that she wasn't the one that was dealing with any of this. So, is that accurate? Is that what you recall?
Off the top of my head, I can't say for sure. I don't remember. I would say that it would be the deputy auditor's job. to monitor that. Um,
And again, with all these issues, from the time that you take office, if you see that this has been going on, why wouldn't you come and bring it in front of council, address the issue years ago, unless you're just so clueless,
that was,
unless you're
and
so
Cody, that was one
incompetent?
of the first things that I did when I decided to run for office is the budget. I looked at the budget and I saw all the negative balances and I was like, oh my God, you can't do this. You know, where is the stop switch on this? They're spending money like it's carte blanche. There was no stopping, and it couldn't continue. And that was one of when Bill and I were running, that was we had met prior to even us being elected, and we came up with a game plan. If we get elected, this budget is the first thing that has to be addressed, because we can't, if we continue on with these negative balances that they are showing, this city will be bankrupt by the end of 2024 and we're going to get blamed for it.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I think a lot of people forget is that you guys, that incoming class with the new administration, when you took office, you were elected in November of 2023, took office in January of 2024. And then for the 16 years prior, that was under the Schertzer administration. And the Democrats had a supermajority for majority of that 16 years. So, people have to put those things in proper perspective when they're trying to figure out, like, hey, what the hell happened? Where did things start going off course? And I think that is a good segue, Twila, into a discussion of the corrective action plan that the city administration and council submitted to the auditor of state. We already went over that, folks, last night with Ralph Smith, but let's bring that up, Jay, and we'll
Go
talk
back over
about
the corrective action plan.
yeah, those 14 accounts, those 14 funds with deficit balances, and get Twyla's thoughts on that. So, as we've already discussed, they're going to have to contract again. Do you have a company in mind already, Twila? I mean, is it going to be another Veritas type company, or?
Yet, more than likely, yes. They're going to have to basically do the same thing Veritas did.
And Veritas kind of threw its hands up in the air and kind of walked away because they weren't getting the information, they weren't getting the collaboration or the cooperation from Auditor Miranda McGinnis's office to be able to be successful. So there was a lot of wasted time, a lot of wasted money.
Oh, time and money all the way around. I mean, you look, when we came on board and we tried to start reconciling these accounts with Veritas, we were having weekly meetings. There were 5 of us. There was Miranda, there was Chelsea, there was the state auditor, there was Veritas, and there was New World. Every week, 5 people spending 2 to 3 hours on conference calls, working in the sandbox, reconciling these accounts. And Veritas got them reconciled to a point and did an SOP so that we would know what we needed to do from this point on. And it was like, you've got to keep these current and up to date, because if you don't, you're going to be right back where you were. Well, she didn't, and we're right back where we were. So again, wasted money, wasted time, my time, New World's time, the state auditor's time. I mean, and we're going to be doing it all over again.
Is there a realistic timeline Do we know at this point?
At this point, no. And we probably won't know a realistic timeline until we get an auditor in there that can assess the problem. Do yeah. First of all, we've got to establish, is it a New World problem or is it an auditor problem? So we've got to basically reconcile current, find out at least current, maybe December, January, and February, or start with January and do February and then go back and do December. We've got to find out, are we off the same amount of money every month? And if it is, then it's not a software problem. Are we off this amount of money one month and this amount of money another month? And if we are, then it's a software problem.
Right.
So that's the first thing we have to figure out. And the only way you can figure that out is to reconcile and find out what you're off, if you're off. So reconciliation after payroll is the number one thing that'll be done. When payroll's fixed, the W-2s are gone and done, then reconciliation is the next priority to figure out, is it a software issue or is it an accounting issue?
We know it's
Right.
a software issue.
Oh yeah, there's definitely software issues in
do.
there.
I mean, Veritas made that very clear. Unless something has changed, and I highly doubt that they went, when you don't have a IT manager that is actively involved in any of these systems, even though he goes up and says that New World's fine, New World's fine.
Right.
We know that it's a software issue. And then the auditor state, correct? The auditor state said that New World will never work, right? I mean,
And
that
with
changed?
that
We
being
all love the
said,
New World now.
Tyler Technologies has agreed to provide all the training that's necessary, and they are going to work with us in working through these reconciliations. If it is a software, I say if we, like you said, we know it is part of it, but we have to figure out where is, we need to be able to put one or two transactions through and follow it from the beginning to the end. But we have to reconcile and know what we're off first.
Right.
So we have a beginning balance and an ending balance. So it's complicated.
It is complicated.
Reconciliation is not complicated, but the situation we're in is complicated.
Yeah, I mean, it's been going on for 15 years, so yeah, it's complicated.
And so it's going to be all hands on deck. We're going to have New World, Tyler Tech, whatever, plus a consultant, plus the auditor, plus the treasurer, because the treasurer is going to have to get involved in this also, because we are going to use Veritas's SOP, and the auditor is going to be responsible for their portion of the reconciliation, and the treasurer is going to be responsible for their portion, and both parties are going to be trained. And Tyler Technologies has agreed to do that training
For free?
for free.
Interesting.
Well, he's got something. They've made a lot of money off the city of Marion.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, it cost like $1 million when they
Yes.
installed it in 2009, and then their annual fee, I think, was pretty substantial too. So
So we've had two or three meetings now with Tyler Tech, and we are now doing weekly calls, going through scenarios, situations, and we are going to continue to do that until all the issues are resolved. Or I don't know what'll happen if they can't get resolved, then we might have to look at a different software.
So now we're not, you're thinking that the city may stay with New World?
Given everything that we've discovered in the last few weeks, and the resignation of Miranda, and we know what we know. We don't know what we don't know.
Right.
That's the scary part. What don't we know? And because of the audits, the reconciliation, I don't think we're going to look at software for at least a couple of years.
Really?
We not my decision, but I think we going to have to try to get these reconciliations done. With everything that's going on right now, I don't feel, and I know there are others that agree with me, that right now is not the time for us to add another problem to the bucket. Because
So
anytime
it's not a situation where you are staying with New World because you have full faith in the system, or
right?
do you? Are you now saying that you have full faith in the New World?
I don't.
I think they've got so much going on, right, that they're afraid that throwing more monkeys into the party
that
is
makes
going to
sense.
mess stuff
Yeah,
up. I mean,
no.
yeah, it
Yeah,
makes sense.
no.
We've
As
got
long as it's being watched.
right. We've got to solve some issues before we've got enough balls in the air right now. We don't
Right.
need to add another one to the juggling. I've lost count on how many balls we're juggling right now.
Me too.
And it's just that anytime you initiate something new, there's going to be glitches, and there's going to be glitches you have to work through. And so we've got to figure out what all of our glitches are right now. Number one is we have got to have a book to bank balance. And if we switch softwares now, that's going to be an almost impossible task to do.
I mean, there are firms that can help you with that, but there's a lot going on, so it would need to be discussed extensively. I would like to see the software out of there because I know it's a serious problem, and you know why I know that. So
right, and I'm not saying that I have. Oh yeah, New World,
right.
is they're going to get everything fixed and it's going to be operating just exactly the way the city needs it to operate. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen. I wish, I hope, I pray it could happen. But right now we've got to get our bank to book balance, and we can only do that with New World right now.
That makes sense. You got to go through these things in a progression, but I think inevitably that is going to be done, just with all the other evidence that's on file over the years.
And I think it will happen, but I think it's going to be at least a year or two down the road.
Yeah,
I just hope
that
they're
makes
paying
sense.
attention to this system while they're using it, man. I know your administration will, but I'm talking from, the people who are actually supposed to be watching it. And I know that Ralph will keep an eye on that, and you guys will keep an eye on that. But man, it makes me nervous because that system's, we have documented instances of it just spitting out random numbers and corrupt data for absolutely no reason. And yeah, it's probably making you nervous, Rick, too.
I'm not. We've got a long road ahead of us.
You do, yeah.
Anybody that thinks we don't is kidding themselves. This is not going to be something, hire a new auditor, get a new auditor in there and snap everything's that's not going to happen. That is not going to happen. This is going to be grueling, and it's going to be time consuming, and it is going to take months. Our audits have been put on. Like I said, I think that Clark, Schaefer, and Hackett have asked for an extension. I can't verify that for sure. I might know more on Tuesday after our meeting with the state as to what's what on that. I don't know. I did ask Martin today if he could call Clark, Schaefer, and Hackett and find out what the status is and what the new schedule, if do they have a new schedule? I said, I'm going to be asking you Monday night, so these are the things I want to know what the status is on. So he's going to make make some phone calls and see if he can get me some answers for Monday night's meeting.
When we started talking to you, and you said this to me many times, and I know it's a joke, but it is funny. When we started talking to the administration coming back online around January of 25, we didn't know each other at all, and we started going over some of the little pieces between the administration and what Marion Watch has had over the many years that we've been looking at this crazy. And Twila said several times, what kind of a Pandora's box of crazy did we open? Like, this is, it just, every time we started collaborating and researching more, we would uncover more and more and more and more. And it's just such a big, huge snowball of insanity, really. I mean,
every time it is, it's a Pandora's box. And you're that was a great analogy. Every time we think we have one thing solved, it turns out to be a shit show of
right.
Of
Like the software safety controls and all that stuff. And I mean, you guys went through that.
We just
and then
keep discovering more and more and more and more. And it's like, when does it stop?
Right. The modules.
When do we get to start doing? Maybe this is what we were elected for, you know, to come in and clean this up. I don't know.
You're the only ones that seem to want to look at it. So
yeah, I mean, if not now, when?
It's got to be done.
You, not you, who? So now I think saying, I know I kind of caught my ear. You said it might be a months long process. I think that would be that's quite ambitious. Don't you think? I mean,
I said a month long process in what? Getting
months. It's going to take months.
Months, yes.
Months with an S, plural. But you got to set the proper expectation. If there's one thing that I've learned in a course of business in my lifetime, is if setting the proper expectations goes a long way. So if you say, like, it's going to take me 30 days, 45 days to do this.
Hey, I expected
and that's realistic. Right. Yeah. I think it's probably going to take, because of that Pandora's box, Twila, and it's also within the context of historical perspective.
Right.
We go back to when this stuff started occurring, started coming to light, and it was always, it's going to take us a couple weeks to fix this. It's going to take us a couple months to fix this. That was years ago. And it still isn't fixed. Right. The problem's still there. Is this a years-long process?
It might be 2 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Seriously, it might be 2 years. It depends on what else we find. Because, like I said earlier, we know what we know, but we don't know what we don't know yet.
Right.
You know, what are we going to discover once we get an auditor in there and they start going through the files and New World, and, you know, we have no idea. So, and the audits were scheduled to be done in 27. I believe 22 was supposed to be done this month. And then 23, I believe, was supposed to be done in September or December. And then 23, 24, 25, I think 26 was scheduled to be done in September of 27. Thereabout. So now I'm sure that's going to be pushed out to probably 2028 unless a miracle happens and things start falling into place and working in our favor.
Yeah, because they were supposed to have 2022 done this week, right?
Yes.
And that working on 23. We were supposed to be actually doing 21 and 22. And then finishing up 22, working on 23, finishing up 23, working on 24. That's the way the schedule was supposed to be going. And we are not even there now.
I
Was
don't
any
even, I
progress,
don't even
was any
think that
progress made after they released 21 or whatever? I mean, when they were supposed to be working on 22, was any progress made on it over?
they, Clark Schaefer and Hackett was in the auditor's office the last week of December and the first week of January, pulling payroll receipts, payables, comparing to make sure things balanced and matched up. And I heard through the grapevine unofficially that that did not go well.
Yeah,
With
we were kind of
Miranda
suspecting that.
So, and I think that's why, and like I said, heard unofficially that Clark Schaefer Hackett was going to request an extension for the filing. And that was one of the things I asked Martin if he could follow up on and find out for sure. Because it's on my agenda for Monday night. And so I you know, I don't want to skip over it. You know, we need to know where are we at with the income tax abatements?
Right.
Where are we at with the reconciliations? Where are we at with the audits? Like I said, we've got a lot of balls flying in the air right now, and I don't know which one to catch other than payroll right now. Payroll is the priority. I don't care what it costs. I mean, I don't want to spend $1 million or anything, but if we have to spend, you know, $30,000-$40,000 to get payroll working and so that ADP can do our payroll, then that's what we need to do.
Yeah, so we'll get on payroll here. What do you want to point out? What do you want the folks to know about this corrective action plan, other than what we've already talked about hiring the consultant? It's going to take time. You guys are trying to get everything on board here and signed up by March 1st, 2026. We've got these 14 funds with negative balances, the most substantial of which being the sewer or storm sewer, and also substantial within fire and police and whatnot. Number of them were fairly modest. That 39-cent one, I mean, you got to be, 39
Well,
cents.
I'd like
Okay.
the 39 cents, you know, we'll pay that out of the general fund. The 66,652.69. Miranda had mentioned that there is an offsetting entry for that one. And I'd ask her, so if there is, why haven't you made that adjustment? Why haven't you matched that up? I never got an answer on that. That was like, 3 months. That was right after the audit came out, the results from the 21 audit. We spent weeks on this plan. We don't even know if the state's going to approve it.
Are you
But
not confident? I mean, or are you confident that the state will approve it? Do you have any insight into that?
no insight whatsoever. I mean, they may come back and say 20 years is too long. You need to do it in 10. They may say 5% isn't enough. We want 10%. This was a starting point. This is what we've got. This is what we've got to pay off, pay back to the general fund, whatever. We've got to make these departments self-sufficient. What they're spending, they're bringing in to cover what they're spending. We've got to adjust rates. I mean, this is not going to be fun for us. Rates weren't increased to keep up with cost of living. You've got the storm sewer projects that the past administration signed on, and you never adjusted the rates for the project. And these are mandated federal improvements that have to be made. So we don't have a choice at this point. They had a schedule that they were supposed to be on for increasing those rates over the last, 15 to 20 years. Every other year, those rates were supposed to be adjusted accordingly for the project and the cost of living. It was never done. And now here we are.
Who do you blame for the lack of accountability or oversight on making sure that those rates were being revisited as they were supposed to be and they weren't? Is that a streets and sewers committee issue? Is it a Scott Schertzer's administration at that level, like the service director, or who is?
I would say that the projects, the council, Schertzer Council administration, those projects were voted on, they were approved, funds were appropriated, they took out the bonds for them and whatnot. The schedule was there. Was it up to the engineering department to say, hey, auditor, have you increased the rates? Was it up to the auditor to say, hey, service director, it's time to increase the rate? I don't know who it just wasn't done. But somebody should have taken responsibility for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty big foul up in my book. Again, all of these, when you're talking about, really anything across the board, especially with enterprise funds and that sort of thing, they're supposed to be self-sustaining, which in Marion's case, almost all of them are not. They continually get bailed out by the general fund, the operational fund, which is paid into by the Marion taxpayers, when they're supposed to be self-sustaining between grants and charges for services.
Exactly.
So their fares or their fees or what have you.
Right.
So this should all be revisited annually to adjust for inflation, to see where they're at.
Exactly.
And it wasn't done.
One of the things that we're looking at, I don't know if it's down or up on there, is the recycling. When recycling first started up, the city was being paid to do the recycling. When that became an expense instead of a revenue, that should have been reevaluated.
Right.
At that point, when it started becoming an expense to the city and the citizens instead of a revenue for the city and the citizens, it should have either started charging them for recycle or stopped it altogether, because obviously we couldn't afford to carry it forward. And again, those were grants with matches, 20%, 25, 10, 5. It doesn't matter. If you have a grant with a match, you better make sure you got the money to do whatever the match is.
Right.
And I don't think that anybody was doing that. They were just, it's a grant. Yeah, we can pay it. We can pay our 20%. Oh yeah, we can pay our 10%. Well, how can you pay it if you don't even know what your bottom line is?
Right.
So right now, if a grant isn't 100% paid for by federal or state, it ain't getting approved through I'll send it to council with no recommendation. And because if it isn't 100% paid with city no match, then it's not going to get approved. I'm not going to vote for it. I'll send it on to council. I have to bring it out of committee, but I won't vote for it if it's going to cost the city any money at this point. And here's another thing that nobody's even thought about. I have, and maybe some other people have too, but with this whole payroll situation, and all those fines and penalties that we were getting, you think we ain't going to be getting them now? You don't think that our stuff isn't right? That it was right when it went? I'll guarantee you we've got more fines and penalties coming down the road because of this situation also.
Yeah, this is a mess between the not testing and stuff.
It's what I said. We don't. When do we get a break? When does it stop? and the payroll, to be honestly, I wanted the affidavits filed 6 months ago. When the payroll issue came up, I'm done.
Yeah.
Get me 2 other people now. Because this has got to stop.
I agree. It was not a
It's
moment
a
too soon.
definitely a shit show.
So let's talk about the payroll, but do you have any final comments on this corrective action plan that was submitted? We went through it with Ralph in
Fingers
detail.
crossed.
So
Fingers
we're just gonna
crossed.
wait. When are you supposed to hear back on your plan?
We Auditor of State called for a meeting on Tuesday at 9:30. So they didn't say what it was in reference to. I'm hoping it's the plan, a yay or a nay, or I'll be there at 9:30 to find out.
And you have until March 1st to have everything approved. If you don't,
You mean
have it.
like we've already started submitting requests for resumes and we're interviewing. I won't say me, they, Bill, Mayor Collins is doing interviews, Mark Russell. They've already started reaching out to consultants and firms, and there is, I think I haven't looked at my agenda, and there is an ordinance on there, I think, for a company.
Okay.
Like I said, I picked it up, but I have not looked at it yet. And that actually, when I looked at my agenda at 11 o'clock, there was only two items on my agenda. And I looked at it again at 2 o'clock, and there were 2 more ordinances that had come up. And they're on, I called Matt to make sure the clerk of council, I said, I'm sorry, I was at work. I lost track of time. Tell me these things are on my agenda. And he said they were. So there's a couple ordinances on there I have not had an opportunity to read yet. I glanced at them, but I haven't had time to read them.
Yeah, so it sounds like we might have an answer from the Auditor of State on your guys' corrective action plan, and might have it lined up for the consultant to come in and do the reconciliations and try to get all the books in order. Again, it's going to take a long time. It's not going to be a short process, but at least the ball looks like it might be moving.
Yes, and with that being said, I know Tyler Technologies is coming in on Thursday, Friday, and next Monday, and they are going to train 5 people on bank reconciliations. So we're not going to do just the treasurer or the auditor or the deputy. We are having 5 different people in City Hall being trained on how to do bank reconciliations, so that if anybody walks out, quits, resigns, whatever, that job can still keep going forward.
Who are these people?
I'm not sure.
Like clerks, secretaries, people like that?
Clerks, secretaries. I'm not sure who the 5 are. I know the treasurer and the auditor or Martin, whoever. The auditor was on the list. Treasurer was on the list. Chelsea's on budget director is on the list. I think the mayor's secretary. I'm not sure about that one. I'm not sure who all. I don't remember who all's on the list, but I do know they are coming in. There's 5 people that are going to be trained at no cost.
Hey, can't beat that. Like I said, they've spent enough money on Tyler Technologies and New World over the course of the past 15, 16 years that they should be willing to especially with the issues within
Right.
the software, they should be able to, give us something. But all right, so that's that payroll issue. So this we've talked about in the past. The decision was made to convert over to ADP, which is the world's largest payroll software provider. World's largest. I think there was 130,000 government entities that utilize ADP. I mean, in my entire career, I think I've worked at companies that have used ADP. So it was kind of shocking to me when this discussion was coming up on ADP, people acted like they were unfamiliar with it. Like, payroll numbers, if you follow that at the national level, yeah, the federal government releases their numbers, but the private sector, that report comes from ADP. And that's how big and influential and
Right.
important of a company it is. So the decision was made to convert from um, the new world, right? I mean, that's the
Mhm.
payroll software that they were using before. Convert over to ADP, and that was March, I think, when they held the kickoff, March of 2025. It was,
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. And it was
yeah,
supposed to go live in July,
yeah. So like
and
a
then it
period
got
of
pushed
11
out
weeks.
to November, and then here we are today.
Yeah. So on a prior episode, we talked about that. Um, Big time problems. So they go live first week in November. Ever since then, there's been issues within the payroll for the city of Marion where um, totals were incorrect as far as pay, might be short, might be too much, hours, year to, it sounds to me that if there's any data item on a pay stub, if there, it was probably wrong, or there was a chance that it was wrong. And now you're faced with the deadline of January 31st for the issuance by law required to have the W 2s out to your employees. 'Cause it's tax season, folks. Got to get those tax returns in, so you need your W 2s. And Auditor McGinnis, or former auditor Miranda McGinnis, one of the last meetings that she attended at city council, she was very resolute and obstinate, saying that she was not, she did not want ADP. She did not like it. She did not want to move forward. She wanted to go back. And Twila, where are we at now in the city of Marion with the payroll software, with ADP, with the W-2s? Give us an update.
W-2s have been released, but they're not correct. I believe a memo is going out to the employees that a correcting W-2 will be coming next week. We discovered that the configurations that were given to ADP were not correct. A whole lot of incorrect information and some not information that they had requested that they never received. We have Monday, we passed an ordinance, council passed an ordinance to hire a consultant. He was an ADP employee with 27 years of experience with ADP, and he brought two people with him that were, I believe, former ADP personnel also. And they have been working all week on getting the configurations. So by, I believe, the end of, or probably by midweek next week, all the correct data should be in there, and ADP is supposed to be operating as designed.
That quick.
that quick.
Well, I mean, at least progress was made, but
They're putting,
when
they're getting all the health and benefits in there. The accruals are being inputted. So, so they'll see their vacation time, their personal time, their comp time. That's what I was told today, that by midweek, everything will be where it's supposed to be and operating as designed.
Well, good.
so in a matter of a week,
Yes.
things went from chaos, cluster F to fixed.
Jeff has been trained. ADP has trained him on what he needs to do. And by the time this is all done next week, there will be, what I was told today, will be relatively minimal work to be done on his end.
So will that, how will the process work? So do these department heads, will they go in and input data into ADP, or will that be the exclusive domain of Jeff in the auditor's department doing payroll?
I can't answer that question. I know they've worked out all those details. The clerks have all been at City Hall this week. Every department clerk has been at City Hall. They've had direct training. So they know exactly what they need to do and who's going to be doing what portion of it. So I leave that. I'm going to leave that to them in the auditor's office and the payroll clerk and the ADP. I just want to know that our workers are being paid and their checks are right.
So it should be fairly self-operating.
That's my understanding. When we were looking at ADP, they told us that it would be a maximum of 20 hours a week that a person would have to spend time on for payroll. And that's what they're saying, that after this is all fixed and they leave, that he'll have minimal time involved in, it'll be pretty much directly the employee submitting their time and their requests for time off or whatever, and it'll be pretty much directly going to ADP, and it'll just be the verification and maybe whatever little glitch that there might be that he might have to fix or something.
Are they going to clock in and clock out the individual employee? That's
They
what
do.
I.
They do
Yeah.
that. Yeah, they do that.
Okay. Yeah. So then,
That was one
I
of
doubt
the
that it'd be
things.
20 hours to do payroll.
Well, and that was one of the things that was causing some of the issue, is because you might have an employee that works in three or four different areas that have to go to a different ledger line. He might work recycling and then later that day picks up on a sanitation truck, and then later that day he's plowing snow. So it just depends on what they're doing. Or they might be working, I don't know, in one area of the sanitation department and then going to another area for streets and sewers, or so it just depends. If they're working in the street, then it has to be charged to street and sewer. The time has to be charged to street and sewer along with his benefits and everything else. So, and that's where the mess was at. The configurations weren't right. And so they weren't getting paid. It wasn't going to the right line items. It wasn't picking up the differential. It wasn't shift. It was a mess.
So it's going to be fixed by this consultant that was brought in. Everything should be, and there are going to be multiple people that are cross-trained
Yes.
across the city, so that if Jeff moves on to greener pastures in the auditor's office or
Gets hit by
something,
a bus, whatever,
right. And that's
somebody
good.
can sit
So,
down in that seat and make sure payroll gets done as it should have been.
Right.
yeah, and I know it was mentioned having people from MTC or whatever come out and assist. Was that ever done? And the only thing it was critical, what I heard was, oh, they're paying for this consultant to come in, spending more money when they don't have money, and then they had free offer of assistance from MTC. Well,
No, it wasn't free.
from MTC?
Yeah, it wasn't free.
Okay. And
No,
anyway, you want to get somebody in there that knows the system.
Right.
Like this guy like fixed it in a week. Not even a
Right.
week.
where
That's
if,
pretty damn
if we would have brought MTC in, and that was one of the things we were looking at. They were talking about 2 interns, and we hadn't even the hourly rate was, from here to there. And it was going to depend on how much time, and it wasn't going to be just sitting there focusing on just that. Where this guy is focused on just this, and he's
So
already
they offered you interns,
Yes,
and they wanted you to pay the interns.
yes.
Man, Jason, what the hell happened? Like I did internships in my undergrad, not paid. You got
No.
credit for doing the internship, and you got experience in the private sector in the job sector, so that you could put on your resume. Like
Well,
what the hell?
the hourly rate was a lot less than what we would have to pay an actual consultant, but
But they
I
couldn't
mean,
have some people out there, some kids that just wanted credit or wanted something to put on their resume that they actually did something of consequence while they were in
maybe,
college.
maybe. I'm not going to say they didn't. They could have possibly, but we already had a mess. Did we want to?
No, I'm not criticizing that decision. I personally think
I
bringing in
mean,
somebody that's skilled, but it
we had
pisses me off if I hear that these little college brats and these in MTC that's wants to say that, oh, we're all Marion strong and all this kind of shit. If they were saying, oh, you got to pay our interns to get somebody in there, hey, now come on here. Like that's not how it was. We did internships for free for
Yeah,
the
I remember that.
experience, for college credit.
Does
So
anybody do anything for free anymore, Cody?
it's such
We
crap,
all did
man.
stuff for free back when
Yeah,
we were.
this world is just a freaking mess, and it pisses me off. I don't know. I try not to rant. Jason gets tired of my ranting.
Oh, I
We
go
I know
on rants too.
But
Ralph.
not only did MTC step up though, but we also had some private citizens step up willing to do it for free. But you got to weigh the risk, and how long is the process going to take to figure it out? And we were on a time crunch. I mean, January 31st, midnight. You don't have 1201, 1202.
No.
You got
Right.
January 1st, straight up midnight. This has to be done. And we didn't need to get to the 11th hour and say, well, I tried, but maybe you ought to bring somebody else in. We didn't have that option.
Right.
No, that was the right decision. So anybody that's going to criticize that decision, especially if everything's going to be fixed here lickety split, and the W-2s are going to be sent out, the corrected ones, and everything's going to be accurate. That's really good, because
Right.
I was actually sitting there. I know last time we spoke, Twila, I said, are they going to get those out? I said, I wouldn't bet on it. I would not bet on that.
I think that's what I said.
Yeah, good job. Good job. And like I said, I mean, there's all these different things that need to be tackled. And
Right. There's a lot
honestly,
of
folks,
And
variables.
like
and here's
you
something
got,
else I want people to understand. This wasn't one or two people making this decision. There were 19 people sitting around the table in the mayor's conference room, throwing out ideas, scenarios, what ifs, and so it was an all hands on deck discussion and decision that this is the best way, and the auditor of the state was in that meeting also. So it wasn't a decision that we just, we threw out every scenario. Everybody had an idea. MTC had ideas. New World had ADP had ideas. The state had ideas. We had ideas. So it was a group effort, and this was the best route to take.
I mean, good. At least we have some teamwork going on. I know the last administration struggled with that greatly.
So I think I think I'm amazed at how everybody has stepped up.
yeah, I mean, you look at all these different irons that are in the proverbial fire, and you got to remember, folks, like these council members, they're making like $9,000 a year. Not to say that that's the motivation. So I'm not sitting here. I'm not Jason Schauber wanting to increase the pay to 25 or $30,000 a year, whatever the hell he wanted when he made those exorbitant pay increase proposals a couple years ago. I think that that is not the reason why you do something like run for city council, serve in that position. But nonetheless, it's a
When
lot
it
of
is,
energy. It's a lot of time.
and I can't
And these,
speak for the other council members, but I, for myself, $9,000 a year, and I'm spending 27 to 32 hours a week since I've been elected doing nothing but council stuff.
yeah,
Oh, I believe that. You got a lot of data. We throw a lot of data at you, and you've got more too. So
And
yeah. So I think my point with that, Twila, is just
if I
people
was doing it for the
should be,
money, we wouldn't be where we're at today with the problems that are solved. And I'm not saying that I've solved those problems, by no means, but I think if you don't have a strong council that is aware and engaged, this is how we got where we were at.
yeah, definitely.
right.
And this council is engaged. Every one of them.
Yeah. And I think that, for the type of difficult decisions that are being made, the type of work that's being put into a lot of these initiatives to put the city in a better position in the long term, a sustainable position, I think some kudos, some genuine thanks to the hardworking members of city council and certain members of the administration is warranted. People should say, hey, because I know the reverse is going to be the case with a lot of people. It's going to be a lot of finger pointing and complaints about this increase or this decision, whatnot.
Oh, we know that's coming.
Yeah, I mean but
we're
that's
going to have to make some tough decisions. We're going to make decisions that people are not going to like, and we're going to make decisions that are probably not going to get us reelected. But if we don't make those decisions, there ain't going to be a Marion.
Right. This situation's bad, and people need to understand that it's very bad, and it's been going on for a very long time.
yeah,
Very.
It's
This
and I've said it
administration's
before, as crazy as it is, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to address things, to fix things that have needed to be fixed for many years. But
And we're trying to be as transparent as we possibly can be. I mean,
Yeah.
and I think had the transparency been there in the past, we wouldn't be where we are today.
Right. You're absolutely right. There's a lot of things I could talk to you about on that, but we're burning a little late.
yeah, well, we've gone on here for a little while. I think that we have rehashed some things that we covered with Ralph Smith last night, went into greater detail with a number of others. Twila, do you have any closing comments for the folks here on the Watchmen's Report?
There's a light at the end of this tunnel. There really is. How far away is it? That I can't answer. But this is going to take everybody's help, effort. I'm a citizen of Marion City. This is going to affect me just as much as it's going to affect everybody else. I'm on a fixed income. I'm retired. I'm on Social Security. I don't get a raise. So I do understand how it's going to affect everybody's pocketbook. It's going to affect mine. Am I going to have to make some adjustments to my household expenses? Yes, I am. Are they, adjustments I want to make? No, but I'm not going to have a choice if I want to help build this city out. And it is going to take the whole city working together, not just council, not just administration. It's going to take the whole city to make this work and make Marion what it can be. Again, it just, to bear with us, and, we need to move forward. We've got to quit pointing the finger. We've got to fix the problem, and we need to move forward.
Amen. That's what we need to do. And it's going to take time. It's going to be a little bit of a difficult situation here in the short term. But I think that eventually, like Twyla said, light at the end of the tunnel, you get out there, you get into the nice sunshine. Aren't we all looking forward with this
Oh.
cold weather, this darkness, this horrible misery? It's kind of reflective. It kind of, it's a good analogy here to what we're experiencing right now. But spring will come. It will get sunny. It will
But
get
it's
bright.
like, what,
Flowers
40
will
some
grow.
days away?
Yeah, it's there, That's just got to put it in proper perspective. When you go outside and you freeze your ass off and you slip on the ice and stuff, yeah, it sucks. You're like, man, why the hell do I live here? But then once you get to spring and you get to summer, you enjoy the nice weather and all the beauty and all that kind of stuff. So just bear with it, and I think better days are ahead. So, Twyla, we greatly appreciate you coming here on the Watchman's Report as always. And I'm
Thank
sure
you.
you'll be back on here as we progress further into this process and give us more updates. They're very much appreciated. So keep up the good work with that. And we wish you all the best, you and your colleagues on Marion City Council and in the administration. So, and yeah, so I don't think anything left as far as shows for this week. Next week, I think on what day is it? The 4th or the 5th, Jay?
Yeah, we'll look it up. I can't remember.
I think it's the 4th.
We got so many dates.
Yeah, we're gonna post it. We're gonna have Heather Hill, who is a conservative running for governor of the state of Ohio. She did run as a Republican, and I think then switched to independent due to a little bit of a falling out that she had with the state GOP. So we'll hear more about that from Heather Hill, and
Very
not sure
nice
who our
lady.
yeah she
Very
she
nice.
is. She
I like
seems
her.
very
She's
very
nice.
nice, and she seems to be somebody that has some genuine conservative beliefs. So that's always appreciated on the Watchman's Report, at least on this side of the screen. And yeah, so we hear more about her and I'm not sure who our other guest is for next week, but stay tuned. Check out MarionWatch.com. Follow us on Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube. We're also now on Rumble. Rumble is kind of the big
Oh, wow.
conservative YouTube where they don't censor and everything like those leftists at YouTube like to do. So check us out on all our mini iterations. Jason Foreman is on top of uploading everything on a regular basis. So definitely like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. So
Yeah, we're
until
having a
next
good time
time,
with it.
yeah, until next time, for Jason Foreman, for Twila Laing, I'm Cody Higley, and you've been watching the Watchers Report. And remember, folks, a watchman is always vigilant. Have a good night.
Have a
Good
good
night,
guys.
everyone.
Thank you,
Thank
Twila.
you.
Thank you.
Sound the alarm! To arms! They are here!